The Pirates don't field their best nine, and the reason is so easily avoidable, it's hard to believe they've done it for over 5 seasons. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, hello, everyone. Heck of a weekend, right? We're going to do our weekend rewind and a look at the week ahead. But tonight, I have to start with something that's been driving me nuts. This team can't ever manage to put their best nine together in a lineup. And I mean like ever. I'm going to go over the reasons today why this happens. And I think just going through the reasons, I won't even have to tell you how easily they are to be remedied. Reason number one. They refuse to recognize players who are going good, going poorly, or even starting to look like either of those. That's just simple identification of who's hot and who's not. Every single time the Pirates embark on a new series, someone at my website goes in and starts doing the series preview. We have a template for it. One of the sections you have to fill out is who's hot and who's not. I have to evaluate who's hot and who's not for a team that I don't cover and my own team. It's much easier for me to pick who's hot and who's not from the Pirates. I can tell you that. If anything, it's hard to force myself to change my answer every week when I do those things. If I can do it, and no-name writers can do it, the Pirates can do it. Reason number two, they structure these rest periods for players weeks, if not months, in advance. Never check in with the players to see if it's needed, just that it's scheduled. Sure, if an injury crops up or somebody's got a banged up elbow and isn't capable of going, they'll adjust their little schedule. But if they plan on having somebody sit down for a game, they don't care how it happened. So here's how it happens. They'll schedule, say, Monday, Hayes sits. And then Tuesday, Reynolds needs a breath. And you could then see probably on Wednesday, Cruz need a breather. And then there's a day off on Thursday. And by Friday, well, it's time for Joey Bart to sit down. The catchers are different. You have to rest them. You don't need to script it out, is what I'm saying. The point is, this creates a situation where the lineup never, ever lines up. You're waiting. Think about what has to happen if you pre-plan out rest like that. You're waiting for an eclipse timed up with Mars and Venus, lining up with the sun, and maybe then you'll see all of the best of what they have in one lineup. And don't get me wrong, that's probably not an incredible offense either. It's a better chance than not, though, that you're going to at least try to put what you see as your best together in one spot. And reason number three is incredibly easy. They refuse to have their best 26 players in MLB. Sounds simple, but unfortunately, they find a way to complicate it. They complicate it by figures like $4.5 million being a lot of money to them, and $1.5 million being a lot to them, and worrying more about losing a player that probably doesn't have all that much of a future anyway, as opposed to I don't know, trying a prospect that might actually have a future, you have a lot of team control over. You bring in a guy like this Alexander Canario. This is what I'm talking about when I say you don't play your best 26. I don't know if he's good. I I have my doubts. The strikeout rate's been awful, but he started last Sunday and then he started this Sunday and he had one at bat in between. How do you expect to see what he is? It's not as though you picked him up off of waivers in a trade, of course, but it's not like you picked him up and then went, "Oh crap, this guy doesn't have any options." At least I hope not. I mean, I don't need to add another reason why Ben Cherington needs to be let go. But let's just pretend that they're not caught off guard by something like that. They get this guy. They know what they have to do. He's going to be stuck in the majors. He has to be. So he either is stuck in the majors and never gets a shot, or he's stuck in the majors and gets a shot. Or what more likely happens is somebody is coming back from the IL and, hey, here's this guy who we've just been rotting here for a month. We'll go ahead and send him out now and take the risk that nobody will pick him up because, well, we never got around to trying it out. Now, I wouldn't care if the reason he's sitting around is because Kyle Schwarber's starting. I wouldn't care if Mike Yastrzemski is my starter. I don't even need a star. I'm just saying, if there's somebody competent starting there, you won't hear a peep from me about this. But if you bring in a guy like that, and I'm watching Tommy Pham do what Tommy Pham's doing on the 4 or 5 or 6 starts a week that he gets, you have a hard time convincing someone like me that it wouldn't be more fun for me to watch the young kid who, just if we happen to brush up against the genie's bottle the right way, starts granting some wishes here for this team. God knows they need power. I don't care how many Tommy hit 7 years ago when he was a relevant player. I care about how many this kid could hit right now. And then, oh, by the way, if he does and he does turn into something, then you've got him for 5 or 6 years. It feels to me like you kind of should take a chance on that. I don't think you can see in practice what you think you need to see with this kid. I think we know he has a ton of power. I think he's going to hit a ton of home runs in batting practice. We need to see what he does when he's actually in a game. And that's what no team that's had him has had the patience to do yet. Understood. You shouldn't either. I mean, it's 2025. You shouldn't be going out and getting players like that you have to test and try and play with. Moral of the story is, I can build a lineup for this team that I actually like and I want to stick with, even based on what I have right this second. Even discounting the fact that they have better players in AAA in some cases. It's not that hard. And I don't need it to see it every day. I understand why it can't be every single day. I do. But put Cruz in center, put Reynolds in left, put McCutchen in right, Hayes at third base. There's a real good start. I'll even pretend that IKF is good enough. Leave IKF at short. Fine. I'll pretend Adam Frazier is good enough. Leave Adam Frazier at second. First base, Valdez. And then use the DH spot for Joey Bart and let Henry Davis catch. I don't know if that's the perfect lineup. Maybe you've got a disagreement with me there. Okay, fine. Pick your lineup. Guarantee you'll never see it made. I guarantee you'll never see that lineup put together. I'm so confident that they overthink this stuff that I could tell you right now, the chances of me seeing that lineup put together before somebody comes back and messes up my equation is nil. It won't happen because the Pirates feel like this rest schedule they have supreme over everything else. They'd rather get swept than put their best out there and try like hell to make sure they don't lose that third game. It's devastating to watch as a fan. There's so many aspects of this game they just don't try hard enough in. And this one is the one that drives me the most insane because it's the easiest to fix. Did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, or I guess eggs, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. We're going to do our weekly weekend review here. And again, I think it's the third one we've done. I'm still waiting for a positive one. In fact, two of them have been sweeps. So I'm really waiting for it to turn around. You're crazy if you do, but hey, subscribe, hit the like button. You can still like what we're talking about. It can still be fun for you and cathartic to come watch the show. So subscribe. The team certainly isn't helping me put together a good show, though. I'll tell you that much. The weekend that was, a sweep to the Guardians. If you look at the box scores, it looks like the Pirates had a chance in each of these games. If you watched the games, it felt a lot less like they had a chance in these games. Really, it did. They lose on Friday, 7-10, but it was nowhere near that close. It was a heroic comeback attempt at the end of that game. Way too little, way too late. And nobody's fault, really. They started Carmen Mlodzinski, and Carmen Mlodzinski had a really bad performance. And he was followed up by a rare bad performance out of the bullpen, too. That's probably what they were away from having a chance in this game. The Guardians win the game on Saturday, 3-0. Paul Skeens really pitched well. Doesn't matter, though. Wasted performance. Mitch Keller pitched pretty well. A little bit short. Probably got a little loose with his pitch count and ended up only going 5 innings, but still kept them in the game. They end up falling a little bit further behind and then lose 5-4 in extra innings after the Pirates roared all the way back to even it in the bottom of the ninth. Yeah, well, I guess I'm bearing the lead here by doing segment 1 today, because I felt like we watched segment 1 play out in this series. Ill-timed resting of players, weird substitutions, odd choices of pinch hitters based on available players. It starts to feel sometimes watching them like they're trying to make the wrong choice. And I wish I was kidding, but there's sometimes I sit there and I think to myself, well, perfect example. There was a pinch hit opportunity in the game on Saturday. They're down 3-0. You know, they've got runners on and everything. They could have pinch hit just about anyone. And the person that they chose to pinch hit for Jack Sawinski, who Thankfully, at least they decided to pinch hit for Jack Sawinski, which is a problem they didn't decide to address on Friday night's game. Regardless, they decided to pinch hit for him. I knew who they were going to pick right away because the easiest pick when you're trying to pinch hit for Jack Sawinski and need another center fielder is to pick somebody that you feel can play center field. They've deemed Alexander Canario capable of that. I tend to disagree. Regardless, they put him out there to pinch hit, and it was striking to me how easy that was to predict. Because I think it's hard to predict things that you as a human being think are a bad decision. Okay. And I thought that was a bad decision. I also thought this is absolutely the decision they're going to make because I can reason why they would. And what it tells you is they make their decisions at such a shallow surface level. It's disgusting, actually. The other thing I think I learned from this weekend is we love to hound on them about using analytics to make decisions, right? Well, I don't think we would as much if they used analytics all the time to make their decisions. Now, stick with me on this. Today's pitcher against the Cleveland Guardians, he has reverse splits. Logan Allen. He's a lefty, but he's really getting righties out really efficiently, and he's really struggling against lefties. So the Pirates, who have been playing O'Neal Cruz just about every day and Adam Frazier just about every day, and lately Ildemaro Vargas is, or not Ildemaro Vargas, man, that's a couple of years ago. I'm just thinking of him because it's another hard name to pronounce. And Manuel Valdez have been playing pretty routinely against lefties as well, mostly because they just don't have much of a choice, or they're by far the superior player at the position. That's what they're going to do. Today or yesterday, for some reason, they ignore those analytics about Logan Allen, and they play fewer lefties than they ever do. O'Neal Cruz sits the day before an off day, the day that you're trying to avoid being swept in a series. Your very best hitter sits because of a righty-lefty split matchup and probably a predetermined rest schedule based on yesterday's DHing of the same player. And Logan Allen's numbers and analytics do not support your decision. I think if you're going to live and die by analytics, don't you kind of owe me the die side? Like, if it has to be a decision that looks counterintuitive and analytics support it, don't you get to kind of sit on your high horse about how important those analytics are a little bit more? Don't you get to sit just a little higher in your saddle about how great it is? If you're not going to do that, well, don't dare tell me that that's why you made another decision that didn't work out. You know, you either got to follow them or you don't. If you're going to have no gut when you coach and you're going to completely live by some book that a bunch of nerds put together and handed you in spreadsheet form with bullet points about what to do, when and where with who, well, you better do that every time. If you don't do that every time, you don't really believe in it. And if you don't really believe in it, why should I believe in it? I shouldn't believe in it. I know it's stupid just from watching baseball, which I would think you would. You're watching it a lot closer than I am. They just continue to baffle me. They don't play their best players. They don't even have all their best players here. And then when analytics tells you something that doesn't look like something you should have done 20 years ago in baseball, oh, well, in this case, let's just ignore those analytics. Those aren't the right analytics. That's the kind of stuff that, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, gets a coach fired. We still have to do the week ahead, and boy, it's not going to get any easier for our Buccos. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. It's the week ahead. It's a West Coast trip. West Coast trip, nothing better. Personal note, I have no idea how I'm going to handle doing the show. I've been trying to do them after the game, and maybe now I'll start doing them before the game. I mean, I don't do recap shows anyway, necessarily for you. These are more ranting and raving and touching back on the game a little bit and looking ahead to the next one. We can still do all that stuff. We'll just be looking forward to tonight or whatever. And last night when we talk, I'll figure it out. There's still going to be 5 shows. Don't worry about that one way or another. I would say the week ahead, though, the Angels have cooled off significantly. They were really, really hot at the beginning of the year. They're not so hot now. Pirates have been 3-7 in their last 10. Well, so have the Angels. Something's got to give. The Angels have barely played at home. They've got the best player on either of these teams, Mike Trout. Obviously, he's a game wrecker. If he's healthy and he can get into it, he will. The Pirates are facing Jose Soriano. Some of you will probably remember he was a Roll 5 selection for the Pirates years ago. And they weren't able to hold on to him for a second consecutive season, waiting for him to recover from Tommy John surgery. So he ended up getting offered back to the Angels, and they wisely took him. Because Jose Soriano, he's got a heck of a fastball, big arm. We actually played him last year, and he mowed us down. So I would expect another good performance from him, and he's off to a good start this season. He really is. And then Andrew Heaney, and that's Bailey Falter going against him, by the way. The Andrew Heaney, let's see, goes against Jack. I want to try to pronounce this. I'm going to try it. Kokanowitz, I think. Never heard of him. Saw some highlights. Looks like better than his numbers, though, at least from what I saw. He's carrying a 6.20 ERA. Carmen Mlodzinski scheduled to go on Thursday against old friend Tyler Anderson. So a little bit of a catch-up show. Tyler Anderson has been one of the better lefties in baseball, actually. He's 2-0 with a 2.08 ERA. Been really, really good so far this year for the Angels. Not an easy road to hoe, and then it doesn't get much easier after that. The Dodgers, and then next week we'll be talking about coming back home to face the Cubbies. And they have not been a slouch either. In some ways, let's talk about how a West Coast trip could be good for this team. The negativity at home has been off the scales. It has. Social media travels with you, so it's not like things that get said on X or Facebook or this show or any show that you listen to isn't going to get around and people are going to hear about it. It doesn't mean that they're not going to read what Noah House writes and whatnot, even if people don't travel with the team as much anymore. But it might mean that they at least don't have to listen to fans chanting about selling the team or booing certain players or, booing the coach. And this isn't about whether you have the right or whether you're right or whether you should or shouldn't do that. I don't care. I'm trying to stay out of that. That's your call. But I'm just thinking from a player's perspective, it's not going well right now. They've played a lot of home games, and those home games have been, pretty poorly attended. And then when they were pretty well attended, they're pretty filled with people that had some displeasure to voice. I don't know what that does to guys, but I can't imagine wanting to come to work knowing I'm going to get booed, knowing my team's going to get booed, knowing people are going to start chanting sell the team as soon as something bad happens to the team. Again, it's not judging you. I'm just talking about from a player's perspective. Maybe getting on the road will be good for them. Maybe they'll find a way to come together on the road a little bit better. There is something to that David and Goliath of playing, a team like the Dodgers when you have no business being on the field with them. Your payroll's $300 million lower or whatever. You shouldn't be able to stand with them. You shouldn't be able to beat them. And yet teams just like the Pirates beat them on a regular basis. It doesn't mean that you could take them in a playoff series, but in a regular series in April, let's just say it's a measuring stick to the Pirates and a minor inconvenience to the Dodgers. So these types of series, they can have a little bit of a solidifying effect sometimes on your roster. They can bring guys together. They can really kind of circle the wagons a little bit, if you will. And I know Paul Skeens was just talking about how friendships and relationships don't matter. Winning comes with hard work. He's very right. I'm glad he says it. I'm glad that he lives it. But this team's more than hard work away, too. They got a lot of work to do. And the West Coast is a good place to do it. It's actually nice that they get the trip to Anaheim first, because it should be a little bit lower stress. Again, I think sometimes it is good for a team when they can get away. Let's hope that that's what it is for the Pirates. A trip away. I hope we start getting some healthy guys back pretty soon. Spencer Horwitz is going out on injury assignment. In fact, his bags were all packed on Sunday at PNC Park. He was going to take off after the game for Bradenton. So hopefully you get Spencer Horwitz back pretty soon, and that kind of changes the dynamic. The funny thing there is what they're going to have to face is, well, how do I get Emmanuel Valdez's bat in the lineup at the same time? They're both lefties. They're both playing first base. Horwitz is going to win that battle because he's a real first baseman and a better first baseman. But Valdez has arguably been the Pirates' second best hitter, maybe even best at times this year. I'm not saying that's what he is, but that's what he's been this year. You're not going to want to bench that if he's playing well. He can play a little bit of second, but not as well as Frazier. No way. The bat works, and it's a short-term solution because at some point you're going to have Gonzalez working his way back, and then you've got another quandary at second base, right? So we'll see what that does, but like it starts to sound a little better right away. Like, oh, okay, I've got more good players to put in this lineup, or more guys that I actually think could kind of flesh this thing out a little bit. This is probably the last week before we start seeing some of that creep back. Colin Holderman's out on an assignment for rehab, and I would imagine he'll probably come right back up too. For who? Kyle Nicholas probably, if he hasn't straightened it out. I was a little bit surprised to see Tim Miza go on the IL, especially after he had just pitched the other night and looked pretty good doing it. So I'm a bit surprised that he was chosen to go on the IL, and they literally didn't announce it until about 15 minutes before the game. Corresponding move on that was David Bednar, who I guess if you want a positive from this weekend, he came in and pitched an inning and didn't give up a run. It didn't look clean, though. I'm sure we all would have preferred that. Looks like they're prepared to just toss him right back in the back again, too. I'd not advise that either. But I think we just discussed there's a lot of things I wouldn't advise that they do. Let's hope for a better week. Some of you may just want to avoid watching it all together and just listen to me talk about it. They're on real late at night. They're going to be hard to look at for some of you, and maybe that too is a good thing, a good aspect of a West Coast trip. It'll force you to take a break from them. It'll force them to take a break from you, and hopefully the next time you get a good look at them, they look a little different, and vice versa. Hopefully they perform well out there and come back to a better reception than they left. I think they've got a lot more broken pieces of glass to worry about before running the vacuum, though. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.